Welcome back to One in a Million channel. My name is Eunice Chan, and I'm super glad to have you guys here for this conversation today. So, we are revealing the 10 signs that say your meditations are working. Now, I have always been the kind of person who's like questioning, like, am I doing it right? Is this working? Is there like actually an outcome from all the hours that I put in from it? Is there any results? And I think after having done it for so long, like I can only look back in hindsight and say, yes, it has worked. Like I have changed so much as a person. And today I wanted to share the 10 of the signs that I have that stood out most to me. Of course, there are probably like so many other benefits that has shown up in my life that I feel like has just changed me completely as a person. But these 10 signs I wanted to share to you because they have changed me fundamentally. They have changed my worldview. They have changed the way that I operate, the way that I relate to myself and other people. And I really hope that it kind of acts as like just a guide, like just a guide for you so that you can see and reflect for yourself, like in your life, how has your meditations worked for you, right? So I'm super excited to dive into this because I know that there's so many people who are asking the same question as well. I remember I was at the place where I was always just like questioning myself, like everything was really vague. So I just really hope that these 10 signs are, they're clear for you. They can really help you identify, like, whether if you're moving in the right direction and to give you the confirmations that you are going where you're taking your meditations where you want it to be, right? So let's like just dive straight in. And as you are watching this video, I would love to hear and I would love to have you comment along if any of these like resonate with you and you pick up on any of these that are also happening for you. Please let me know in the comments because I just love to like I love the feeling of being on the same wavelength with someone when we experience the same things even though we've never met each other before. So, let's dive straight in. The first sign is that you're able to hear the inner dialogue a lot more clearly, right? Like there's just this layer of inner thoughts that you experience on a daily basis that you originally didn't really notice, you didn't really pay attention to, but then all of a sudden you just become aware of this layer of inner conversation that you have with yourself. It could be like a layer of feelings, a layer of emotions. They're not necessarily like, it doesn't have to be like sentences that you formulate in your head, but it's just this like inner relationship you have with yourself. Like all of a sudden, you become aware of a dialogue and a conversation and a narrative that is inside of you. And all of a sudden, it just becomes really heightened. It's like there's like a beam of light that shines on your awareness, and then all of a sudden you become aware of, you start paying attention to like how you've been feeling, how you've been talking to yourself, how you've been treating yourself, and this you become aware of a relationship that you have with yourself, right? So this is sign number one, shining light on your inner thoughts so that you can actually pay attention to how you have been talking to yourself. So sign number two, I'm actually going to go through this really quickly. I have like a bunch of notes, but for those of you who are experiencing the signs, I know that like if you are experiencing it, you will get it. You'll get it. Like you'll be like, oh my gosh, like me too. So sign number two is that, okay, so sign number two, this does not necessarily happen for everyone, okay? This happens to some people. I experienced it. Some of my clients have experienced it recently, is that you become more noticeably tired. You become more energetically drained. And some people are asking like, oh, why does this happen, Eunice? Like the more I meditate, it seems like the more tired I get. And it's like a physical, it's like a very tangible feeling. So the reason for that, and this is my interpretation, is that when we dive into a world of our inner thoughts and all the emotions that we have hidden underneath the surface, all the feelings that we have put like just under the carpet, underneath our subconscious, all of a sudden, when we start looking at them, all of a sudden we become a lot more aware of what's actually going on. And we start having to process them because now it's no longer in our subconscious. Now the things are in our consciousness, it's in our awareness. So we start paying attention to our inner dialogue. We start paying attention to how we talk to ourselves. We start paying attention to all the substance that is inside, right? All the yuck and the yums. But then, like, all the things that we probably didn't have time to deal with, we just kind of put in a box and put it aside. Now we just open the box because of meditation, we shine light on it, and the substance then reveals itself to us. So what do we do with that substance? Well, we're processing it. So of course you're tired. Of course it takes up a lot of your energy. It takes up a lot of your processing, your mental processing, because you have to deal with them. You have to think about them. You have to think about, oh, like that thing that happened to me when I was like 6 years old, 7 years old, when I was in my teenage years, I got bullied. Like, what was that about? Like, how can I possibly move beyond that now that I've just, put it so far behind me, now that I'm no longer living that life? How can I get closure? So like, you're processing all these things that you have packed away for however many years that has passed. So there's a reason why you're so tired. And this is important to recognize, because this is a sign that you need to take more rest. You need to give more space for you to process these things and just be really gentle to yourself. So that's sign number 2. Sign number 3, let me know if you guys are following along. Sign number 3 is that your meditations are starting to grow on you. And I remember this feeling very well. I remember, like, there was a switch, and let me know if you guys like experienced this switch. The switch is that at one point you were doing it because you know that it's good for you. You're doing it out of like, you're doing it because you know that it's supposedly beneficial, but you weren't doing it for the experience. The switch over is the moment when you start to feel delightful in the experience of doing it, right? You start to feel like you're actually doing it for your own benefit. You actually start to enjoy the process of meditation. You start to enjoy the experience of it. You start to enjoy the moment of just, sitting with yourself and spending time with yourself and closing your eyes and just being in your own world. And you're not just doing it because you need to check off a box of self-care, of self-love, just supposedly, just like because it's supposedly good for you, just because people say it's like, it's going to calm your nerves and help you balance yourself. Like, not because of any of the benefits, but because you just want to do it purely for the experience. So that's a switch. That is how you know that it is working, because you're starting to enjoy the process, just being in the moment. That in itself is meditation. Not because you need to do it for a benefit, not because you need to do it for an outcome, not because it's a transactional action, but because it is, you're just enjoying this moment that you have with yourself. So let me see the comments. You're so welcome, Celestial Consciousness. Okay, so that's a switch. Sign number 4. I love these. You start to be more tuned in when you listen to people. This was super noticeable for me, you guys. Like, when you are having a conversation with someone and you're like maybe, in front of the other person, or you're standing in a crowd, all of a sudden you feel like you're like really in the room. You're no longer, your mind is no longer like wandering around. You're no longer like being distracted. You're no longer thinking about your own agenda. You're no longer just like thinking about how you're going to reply or what you're going to say. Like, your personal relationships improve so much, to the extent that like when you spend time with someone, you are just so there. There's like undivided attention, undivided presence. And then all of a sudden, when you're in this conversation, this energetic exchange with somebody else, you feel like you're able to listen and hear and read between the lines. You're able to really pick up on how this person feels. You're able to decipher like what is this person really trying to say, and you're able to understand like the nuances of like the communication and the words that they're using, so that you can really like distill and get the gist of what they're really saying to you and how they're feeling and what they really want to communicate. And this was so huge for me because for a very long time in my relationships, it was just like so quick, just conversations after conversations and meetup after meetup. But then when I started to meditate and when I noticed that my meditation was working for me, was when I started to notice a shift in my human interactions, in my engagement, in my conversations, and in my energetic exchange. And then all of a sudden, you'll start to realize like people are opening up to you. Not because like you proved yourself trustworthy, not because you've done anything, but just because of your undivided presence. Like you just have such a like a powerful presence to be in the room that people are like, you feel very grounded. I feel like I can open up to you. So that is sign number 4. Sign number 5, well, it kind of relates to sign number 4, is that you have this beautiful glow. You have this glow about you. And it's not like an aesthetic glow. It's not like a physical glow. Although I have to say that I've seen a lot of people have like a physical transformation, like a physical up leveling after they started meditating. And it was really fascinating to see because I experienced this in myself as well. It's almost like I allowed myself to be the most naturally beautiful version of myself. Like I allowed myself to express that in the way that my body knows how to articulate it. So you start to have this glow, this calmness, this peace about you. You start to accept yourself just as who you are. So the mask comes off, the fakeness comes off, the facade comes off. Everything that you did to like prove yourself and show yourself and um, almost like fabricate to show other people, it just comes off because you no longer need to show that to people to be in order to be accepted, because there's such a deep level of acceptance, like self-acceptance inside of you, that you no longer are afraid if you're not accepted by other people. And so therefore, for people who have been meditating for a while and for the people who really enjoy, just going back to their meditation, they just have like such a feeling of groundedness and calmness about them. It just makes it so much more pleasurable to spend time with these people because like it just makes you feel so safe. It's like a really like it's a really stable kind of energy. It's a really safe kind of energy, as opposed to being in a conversation with someone and you don't, their mind is erratic and they're jumping all over the place and they're asking like 1,000 questions and they're saying 1,000 things. The people who have meditated for a while, you will know that there's just a sense of peace about them. So this is how you know if your meditations are working. If you feel like there's just an inner glow about you, you can feel that. You can feel that. So sign number 6 is that you start to change the way you go about things, the way you do things, the way you assume things, the way you kind of like jump into conclusions. You kind of stop doing that so much. And you're not afraid to take the time and just sit with your thoughts and sift through your thoughts before you make any assumptions and conclusions. And I think this shifts like a lot. This brings a huge degree of change in your life because the way that we used to operate, we know what we know, and we stop asking questions about what we know, and we start assuming things. We start jumping into conclusions, and we start like taking the shortcuts. And and we stop really being in the present. And what meditation does for us, when you start, becoming more in tune to with yourself, you start asking yourself, is this what I really want to choose? Is this what I really want to believe? Is this, this thing that I have believed in and held onto for so long, is this something that I want to continue to hold on to? So then you start to just being able to sit with your beliefs and your thoughts and the way that you do things. Oh, hello. Who wants to join this conversation, it seems like? You're able to sit with your thoughts and just take your time with them, knowing that there's absolutely no rush to give an answer to people, right? So you're not like rushing into things and, jumping into conclusions, the same things that you have always known in the past. You're not afraid to reevaluate how to live, how to think, how to behave, how to operate. And it's almost like you're kind of looking and navigating a new way of maneuvering your life. It's almost like, yeah, okay, so here's a word. It's almost like you're finding a new way to operate so that you're introducing yourself to a new way of walking through life, a new way of operating. Okay, makes sense? Yeah, I felt that a lot, right? I took a lot of time and it was super draining for me. But then I'm really glad that I did, because certain ways that I was operating in the past was no longer serving me. It was actually sucking away my life energy. And a lot of times when you hit that point, when your meditation starts kicking in and the effect starts taking over your life, you just have to put a stop sign. You just have to put the pause sign and then allow yourself to like sit back and reevaluate. So if you notice that this is happening for you, it's a big sign that your meditations are taking its effect. So sign number 7 is that you stop fighting against life. You stop creating resistance. Like anything that you used to put so much meaning onto, put so much like negative meaning onto, now you're just allowing it to happen. Like you're just accepting it as it is. Whatever that was so bad for you, or whatever that had like negative associations to you, now you're just like, if it happens, it happens, and you don't resist it, you don't fight it, you don't give like your old interpretations to it. So that kind of goes along with like not jumping to your old assumptions, but now you kind of have this like new curiosity to life. So you're assessing and kind of reassessing like how you're moving forward. Just because something bad has happened, you're not interpreting it in the same way that you have before. So you're giving a lot more curiosity into investigating like, oh, what's happening in my life? What else could this mean for me? Like, what is the opportunity in this, right? Because you realize that when life is a flow, just like the flow of meditation, just like the flow of your thought, you don't have to fight against it to move on. You can just flow along with it, just like your thoughts, and allow the thoughts to just carry you forward. And this is like the most beautiful thing. Like when you develop this quality of curiosity in your life, you become more inquisitive. You become a lot more curious. So that is sign number 7, that your meditations are working for you. Okay, I know I'm going like 500 miles per hour, but we have 3 more to go. So sign number 8 is that your communication is a lot more clear. So this happened for me, and it was really noticeable in my communication with people, especially when I'm like trying to articulate my thoughts, and I'm trying to like put words into my thoughts. Like I'm trying to express myself. So how does this take place, and why does this happen? I've noticed that the people who have really spent a great deal of time with themselves are able to, well, first of all, they're not in a rush to express themselves. They're not in a rush to just get the words out, but because there's this level of intentionality with being with yourself, your communication then becomes a lot more meaningful, because then it's not just about spitting out the words. Your communication is about your the expression, the accurate expression of your energy. And if it's not accurate, you're not going to say it. And this can only come through when you have like achieved a level of your meditation where you're in touch with yourself, you're in tune with yourself, you're listening to yourself long enough and attentively enough such that you're able to pick up on very subtle feelings that you otherwise would not have noticed. And I feel like this is really the key to powerful communication, because you're able to reach into a place inside your heart, inside your feelings, so that your body understands and syncs up with the way that you feel and translates it into words for you, so that you become a lot more articulate, right? The things that you say are a lot more clear. You're able to sift through your thoughts a lot more and then actually derive what it is that you really want to say. So meditation and clear communication actually does go hand in hand. If you notice that, you feel like your communication is a lot easier, you write a lot faster, you don't have as much like creative blocks, especially when you're writing or texting or trying to communicate something or trying to like get a message across, writing an email, talking to your boss, getting a presentation done, speaking in front of people, like all those things, all those like communication related activities, then your meditation is working like 100%. Like that's always a clear sign. And it's funny because you know what? Like my husband always tells me like, why does it always seem like you know what to say? And I'm like, I meditate. I spend a lot of time in my head. Of course, I have, I have some kind of clarity of what's going on inside because of the great deal amount of time that I sit with myself to sort through what is true, what is not true, what is it that I want to say, what is it that I want to take away. So like your communication will dramatically improve. I can promise you that. Sign number 9 is that you feel safe again to be with your feelings. So, guys, I know that meditation sometimes could be really scary. And there are times when I also really resisted it as well because of how I know I was going to feel when I sit down and meditate and close my eyes. And I feel like I'm just surrounded by like a vast sea of thoughts, of darkness, like a vast blanket of thoughts that just cover me. And it could be very scary. But the more that you do that, the more you realize that it is actually not a threatening thing, that your thoughts actually can't hurt you. And I think this is what happens when you become more comfortable with meditation and when you know that you're meditating and you're progressing in the right direction. um, you stop looking for distractions because they no longer really satisfy you. They no longer really solve the problem. They no longer really, like, on a really deep level, you know that it's not really helping you to find yourself. So it doesn't really quench that thirst the same way that it used to before. Like it may have worked before, these distractions may have given you an instant fix, an instant, it just calmed your nerves like immediately. It makes you feel better immediately. It gave you like dopamine fix, but then now you know that it's not going to do it. And you want to just like, whenever you feel an icky emotion, you feel frustration, you feel something building up, and you're just like, oh, I can't get this out of my head. Um, you're not afraid to be with yourself anymore, any longer. You're not afraid to just be in be in gentle confrontation and loving confrontation with yourself, um, instead of looking for distractions and hiding from your feelings. So I would say this is probably one of the biggest things that happens when you're doing your meditations right. So sign number 10, we're off to the last one, is that I absolutely love this, guys. You realize that you get in touch with a higher version of you and a more divine, loving version of you that is always here for you and is always whispering in your ear. So beyond all the inner chatter, all the monkey talk, the monkey chat, the monkey talk, the monkey brain, beyond the monkey brain. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Beyond the inner conversations and the dialogues and the negativity and the, putting yourself down, all of a sudden you notice there's this quality of divine love, of infinite love, self love. Like there's just this part of you um, that is on a higher realm, that is speaking to you from a higher dimension, that sounds and feels of a really loving quality. Let me know if you guys feel this, because this is like one of the most amazing feelings to resonate in. Um, and from when you're receiving this voice from that place, from that dimension, there's only clarity. There's only love. There's nothing that is confusing. There are no mixed messages. There's nothing that needs further clarification. It's just a calm knowing, a deep knowing that everything is going to be okay, that you are already on the right path, that you already have everything that you need, that you are just perfect, perfect, perfect as you are. And and from that place, the more you listen to it, the more your new identity emerges. And for some of you who are watching this video, if you have been watching until this point, the 26-minute mark, you probably would have realized that your new identity has already started to emerge, or like you're starting to see new edges, dimensions of your identity that you didn't even know was possible before. Like you didn't know that version of you before, and then all of a sudden now you're just like, well, I didn't know there was this part of me that is starting to come out. I didn't even seek for her or him. It's just that it just emerged out of nowhere, and it is everything that I want it to be. It feels so loving. It feels so safe. I just want to be more and more like this kind of person from now on. So ultimately, everything that I shared with you today is like fundamentally, it's all about moving away from fear, because it's always the fear-based mind, the fear-based programming that we have been planted from the past that that made us operate in a certain way that makes us feel like we're never doing enough, we're never, enough as a person. And we always feel like we need to be catching up in life, and otherwise we'd be falling behind. And, just being able to be in tune with that version, with that side of us, it just helps us to get closer to our soul's original template, right? And I almost say it as a template because every single person holds this template, and it's the same for every single person. It's the same loving quality, the all-knowing quality, the nurturing, the wholeness that every single person has inside of themselves. And so, the more that you spend time in meditation, it's not even about the time, it's more about like the quality, I feel. But the more you are able to get in touch with that side of yourself, the closer you are with walking back and living in the embodiment of that template. Let's just put it that way. So, yeah, I feel like all these signs are so beautiful. Like, even if you're experiencing one or two or just a few of these signs, it's so amazing. And I just hope that, by hearing this list of signs that I'm sharing with you, it can give you a confirmation and can give you comfort and encouragement that you are all going in the right direction. We are all in the same boat. And I would also really love to hear, like, what are some signs that maybe I have not shared with you here in this video, but what are the signs that you have personally experienced that you're like, oh my gosh, like Eunice, I also want you to talk about this too, or maybe like you have experienced this in your life, and you could just share that with us in the comments because I would really, really, really love to hear about it. Let's see. HD Pro, yes, our true selves are spirit of love with zero fear. Yes, that's awesome that you experienced that during meditation. Yeah, and it's a feeling within the meditation, like within the time frame of the meditation, but also it's a quality that carries outside of the time from my meditation and into my life. Like it spills into my life. And so, I no longer really interrupt myself so much when um, I just want to go for a good feeling. I no longer stop myself for going for the good feeling. And I no longer, really listen to the fear-based thoughts so much during the day as well. So that has been so effective. You agree too? Yeah? You agree too? He agrees. So that is all for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this live video. It was really, really pleasant to have you. Super fun conversation. And let me know which one resonated the most with you. I would love to have this conversation going on in the chat. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I will see you in another video. Bye.